This, the House Oversight Committee continues to seek answers, and longtime Biden aide Mike Donilon is in an interview right now. And he's facing questions on the ex-president's decline and alleged cover-up of that decline. Donilon is the 8th former Biden aide to appear for questioning. Now, remember, these people like to take the fifth. 3 of them so far have taken the fifth over and over, one of them 14 times. Biden reportedly handpicked Donilon to run his reelection bid, paying him a staggering $4 million salary. Yesterday, Biden's so-called gatekeeper, Steve Ricchetti, met with the committee as well. A source says Ricchetti told the committee that Biden could have won last year's election and was capable of being president today. Oversight Chairman James Comer says no, that's not true. He is also hinting at future subpoenas for top Biden officials now.
Congressman, are you going to subpoena someone like a Kamala Harris?
I think that's another great thing about Kamala Harris not running for governor. She's going to have more time to come before the House Oversight Committee and testify about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. So I think the odds of Kamala Harris getting a subpoena are very high.
Yeah, she put out a video and a post late yesterday saying that she's not going to run for California governor. Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor and former oversight chairman. So this is in your lane of expertise. What do you think happens right now and next?
Well, there's politicos that are around, were around Joe Biden. They're important. You want to get them on the record. But those that are on the staff that were closest in the day-to-day operations within the White House, I think those are going to be even more key. The culmination of Jeffrey Zients, for instance, the chief of staff, Anita Dunn, these are going to be some of the key ones. Some of these other political hacks, if you will, who were paid exorbitant amounts of money. I mean, $4 million that guy got paid to run a losing campaign was just stunning. But that's a different subject. But in terms of where this goes, it's the documents that really have to be unearthed. I don't think they've exhausted that. I think there's a lot more to come on the documents themselves. But they got to unearth them. And thus far, they probably don't even have half of them.
So when you talk about these documents, what specifically are you speaking of? And where do you look for these? And would any of these people have any documents as well or have seen them?
Well, again, that's why I say the political-oriented people, they're not going to necessarily have documents that you can get out. But if you look at the communication within the White House itself, now, there is executive privilege on a lot of this, but President Trump is able to waive some of that. But again, there are documents in terms of the use of the auto pen, because it's the auto pen where you potentially have people that, create some criminal culpability if you are misrepresenting or fraudulently using the signature of the President of the United States to further an agenda. That's where it starts to become criminal.
Yeah, that makes sense. So command and control, like if somebody told you to do it, they didn't have the authority to tell you to use that, and there's an email, that's one of the documents you would want. I get it. Jason Chaffetz, thank you. Always good to have you in focus.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.